I think we'll get it. You can show him? You want here, you can move over here.
No, I can. I just need a connector.
You?
Converter problem, right?
Yeah, do you have one of those? I have one, but I don't have mine. Well, I have it for my computer, not yours. Oh, wait, maybe I have it now.
Yeah.
Well, here, this is the problem. There's one piece that I need. You have to have 2 dongles with these new laptops.
This will work with me if you want.
Okay, if you wanna show them. You don't mind? Then I'll show them. I don't know where my dongle went. I think I left it in my room because I actually forgot I only have one converter for this. I have nothing else.
You will just show slides from the meeting material, right? That's fine.
What's that?
Show the slides from the meeting material website. Or?
Yeah, that's fine. I got them all. I just put what's his name? Peter's up there about 5 minutes ago. Or no, about 45 minutes ago. So what day are you going at home? Right. Are you going home Friday? Or are you going home Friday or Saturday? Friday. What time did you leave?
He's there.
Are you leaving on Friday?
Oh,
Friday is 2. How did you know that we weren't going to get the last session or anything like that? You just guessed? Oh, okay. Okay.
Really going to be that late?
Yeah. It is kind of a waste. This time it's really a waste. Usually there's something I have to do on. I do. I'm not there. I have one on my laptop, but like I said, I forgot that dongle. I'll send it. You have it. You have that. I have it for sure. Hey, Stephanie. Yeah.
The new one, right?
That's it. Yep, that's the one. Actually, this is better because I like to look at this new thing they got. It looks a lot better than trying to go back and forth anyway. Standing in the box and looking at that works a lot better than.
How does the slide control work?
Oh.
So I have to put something in here. No, put the USB one in here.
And then I point to it.
Oh, but will the slide control work on
I don't know if it does on PDF, but I don't have any PDFs. I uploaded all.
Everything is PDF, right? All the uploads are PDF.
Only when they do the proceedings. Initially, they're PowerPoint. It doesn't change it right away. Here, let's see if it works. Yeah, it works fine. Okay. Fine. Okay, so you can put up no file. Yeah.
All right. You are set up whenever you want to.
How you doing? Let's say in Europe, you have to put the day first, right? You see Saturday.
issue of more what I refer to as which is to say they're targeted to particular and what the other is across area work communities and it fails to make the ocean
One person I don't know. Since we don't have very many people, one person I know, you are. Yeah, so kind of draft. Oh, okay. Yeah. I think it is. Yes. I'm good friends with Sharon, he's working at Rice. If we get in a situation where we're like, it's common, right, Ron? Using that as like, he said his relatives are policies. Okay. I sort of took an approach to this that I can understand. I'm pretty sure it's all the same.
Don't make us ready, people. I'll get mine back.
The good news is, once I introduce Shala, we'll all know each other. Yeah. So Shala works in an ISP in Bangladesh. I talk to the newcomers for
Cool.
Now, I'm assuming that everybody thought that this was the IETF that we did the OSPF ISIS joint session. But that's next session. That's next IETF. Anyway.
I think they probably thought it was Carl and Three walking on a sweat again.
Yes. You ain't going to the routing director. The bad news is we probably won't reach consensus that he is here.
There's an optimistic view.
The good news is there'll be more people to throw tomatoes. And also on the merging, we're going to have the mailing list merged, so if you subscribe to ISIS or to OSPF and not ISIS, then you're going to end up seeing both list traffic and vice versa, because we want to have the experience of it being a merged mailing list. And after this meeting, I'm going to send an email out into the Secretariat to make that happen.
Yeah, I am surprised that Chris isn't here. Chris Haas, but yeah.
Late lunch.
Probably, yes. Because I had talked to him just recently.
I'm sure he'll be able to.
Yeah.
Was it
Like everyone else, 15 minutes late.
No, he isn't. Less.
This is our standard subscribe.
Yeah, and I'll help out when you're talking, because actually I can take notes during any discussions when you're talking. Let's see about Jabber. Maybe I'll get on Jabber then, since my screen is taken. I got a new laptop, and unfortunately I was using it to charge my phone, and I forgot the dongle. It's a spinner one, and I forgot the dongle that you need to get to connect all the other dongles. So it's a dual dongle system they got now.
Yes.
But I'm just going to get on Jabber. You can talk about them. No, well, yeah.
There's actually new pieces of information from the notebook, right? Because there's a new RFC IPR. So there's a new RFC about IPR, and it defines what a contribution to the IETF standard process is a little bit more broadly than previously. So if you haven't taken a look at it in the last decade, it's a good time to take a look at the new RFC. And there's going to be there's a blog post about it too.
Lou was going to do slides on it for someone, right?
Probably.
He
He's going to be subject to that.
He told me that in one of my conversations. I think.
Okay, so Alia covered the note well. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I was just gonna.
Should we get to the status?
Yes, I'll do it right now.
You're the one talking?
One is this. Yeah, I'll leave it. No, I like it better actually.
Like it? Okay.
I like it because
Just be in the pink box.
yes.
I'm one of the few people that likes this.
I don't have to wear my reading glasses. So, no RFCs in Chicago. We have working group last call on two things. One of the things is we've been slowing down work because there may be some other drafts that are ready, but we've been discussing these, and given the low volume anyway, I didn't want to try and force everything through at one time, so I think we can do that. So we have the segment routing extensions. I didn't update the slide, but Peter just updated it based on today, before the meeting, with comments from the ops review from Sue Harris, and just one other comment to read better in the logic for inter area propagation of segment routing SIDs. And the tunnel encapsulation, I don't know if you saw my note on the list, we had this all discussion about common registries, and the problem was with BGP, they were using communities for some of the things, so we didn't really want to use theirs, so we needed the color to be an attribute in the RILSA, and we didn't want to have a common one with ISIS because they have a 1 byte space and we have a 2 byte space, and I left it to the authors, but I said, well, you could just limit it, but they said, what about the length? And I said, oh, okay, what if we have attributes that are longer? So we took the path of least resistance and created a separate tunnel attribute registry. Link overload. I think we have consensus on this. We've had some discussions on this, and it's going to use it's just going to be an area scope. I think area scoped. I think what people are more comfortable with area scope now anyway, because normally if you're in a service provider network where they would use link overload, you're probably going to have the link attribute LSA anyway for the adjacency SID or something else. So you might as well. I mean, I think having a single simpler solution is better. HBit. This is something that comes up every once in a while. With OSPF v3, we can absolutely prevent transit traffic, but with OSPF v2, we still only can discourage transit traffic. So what this does in a backward compatible fashion, it provides a way to absolutely prevent transit traffic between a node. Also I added somebody that in this to update 3107, somebody had commented to me that 3107 didn't handle the case of the type 2 metric and AS external LSAs, that you would still use the type 2 metric because it's considered higher. So if you're self-originating any type 2 metrics, you should also put that to max metric. And I got an update today on extended LSAs. This is pretty close, I think. I need the authors to tell me everything's ready, but I don't think there's any controversy on that. I saw this one was updated. I haven't read maximally redundant trees yet, but I saw there was an update to it with some changes. And
Those substantive changes.
oh, okay.
On, we'll progress it when we figure out what to do with the delay.
Oh, right. The Stewart straps. Yep.
Coming closer on that regardless.
Yes. OSPF Yang model. There's an update today, and this we haven't really done too much with this simple extension, but the cross TE. This is where you allow just to specify TE in one of the protocols, OSPF2 or OSPF v3, and you can put endpoints for the tunnels of either address type. Segment routing 3. We're not really doing anything to that until we get OSPF be 2 segment routing extensions, then we'll work on that. And this also is dependent on the extended link attributes LSA extensions, which I'll talk about today. Interface LLS, we still need that. It was accepted. We still need allocation of the LSS code point. SR Yang model, that'll be covered today. It's been broken out from the OSPF Yang model in case, because just about everything in the, well, not just about, everything in the OSPF model is a pretty mature feature. Well, this has been evolving at least over the last couple IETFs, the SR stuff, both the base SR model for Yang and the function itself. Entry label, I'm waiting for them to update the draft. We had discussions in Chicago on this, and we'd agreed on the definition of the entry label. We had the original offer, at least we had one of the original offers of entry label. Creedy was in there, and Bruno, and Stefan, and Wim, and we agreed on what the definition of the depth and everything and all the parameters. So I'm just waiting for an update on that draft based on that side meeting. And flow spec, I don't know, this may, unless the use case is more, we heard that we're going to have use cases on this. I don't see any of the offers in the room. I don't know why they're.
Flow spec?
Is there a Huawei lunch today or something? Where are they? Oh, I guess you're, I'm sorry, you said. Yeah, that could be it. Well, yeah, this one though, actually the ISIS working group rejected this because they didn't think the use case was strong enough. And this was for distributed DOS prevention in campus networks. And so I've been talking to the, I'm an offer of this one, but because I helped out with the, the encodings and everything, but I think we'll just let it die if it doesn't, that we don't get more definition if you're actually going to use it for flow spec. Beer, I'd like to encourage other people to review this. I reviewed this, I had a few nits, and I had a few questions on it that Tony took care of all the nits, and I had questions on it that Tony P. and Eric took care of. So I'd like to encourage other people to review it, though. I think it's pretty much ready. And then CCamp, we've given, once the CCamp guys got to 3 levels of sub-TLVs with all the WDM stuff and the optical transfer, we quit trying to keep up with it. And that's it.
Okay. Yingzhen? Yan?
Comments?
Hello everyone, my name is Yingzhen. I'm going to present an update of the OSPF Yang model. Better? So this draft defines the base Yang model. Here is the summary of changes since last IETF. We modified the model to be consistent with NMDA format that was suggested by IETF. So we knew there were some changes that are going to happen, so we made some preparations in advance, such as using groupings. And then when we are changing to this NMDA format, the effort for us was not that big. So it didn't take us long to do this change. Just, if some people ask what's the effort to change this big OSPF model. We also modified the model to be consistent with the Yang module template as suggested by RFC 6087, Appendix C. That's mainly editorial changes. And so something new in this model is we remove the SPF log. We added SPF log and the LSA log. That was part of the effort as aligned with ISS model. We removed the inheritance. So because the feedback we got so far is not implemented by many vendors and make the model complicated. So we decided to remove it. We also made some small other changes, such as for the OSPF v2 LSA ID, we changed to use dotted code instead of IP address, and also some other small changes. And all those small changes, you can look at them kind of like bug fixes for this model. We are trying our best to review the model several rounds already, trying to reduce the number of errors and improve the model's quality. So this is the new added SPF log and LSA log. It's pretty much the same format as ISS model. Both of them are added under the OSPF instance level. So the current status and next steps. This model is feature complete, and after changing to the NMDA format, I think the model has reached a stable state. We do have some dependencies on other models. For example, the IETF routing tabs that we import in the model and use them. That one is in working group last call. The RFC 8022, the routing config model, that one need to be refactored to be consistent with the NMDA format. Right now, the only thing left in OSPF model that still augments the routing state is the one that OSPF augments the route attributes, like the route type is inter-area, intra-area, that type. So that one right now is in routing state. Anything else is already consistent with the NMDA format. Right now, there is no redistribution defined in the model because of the route policy model that has expired in last year, a year ago. BFD issue, Jeff is now here. So we are going to have a BFD meeting with BFD Young Design Team to discuss the protocol specific configuration parameters that we have on this issue. We have gone back and forth several times already. So hopefully after this discussion, we can settle down. Yeah, we used to have a separate BFD module define the protocol specific parameters. We remove it. Now we'll see what happens. So next step, we need a young doctor review. We need to start the young doctor review. Considering the size of this model, maybe we need more than one young doctors to start the review process because it may take some time. And then we will last call this model. So that was the base OSPF model, and this draft defines the OSPF segment routing young model. What changed since last IETF? Same as the base model, we changed the operation state to be consistent with NMDA format. We also changed it, modified to be the young module template as suggested, consistent. So the real changes are we added the local block TLVs and SRMS preference TLV. We also removed the banding TLVs. So this page shows the new SR block TLV. The left side is the definition of the grouping, and then the right side shows the tree of the TLV. This one is the SRMS preference TLV. Same again. So left side is the definition, right is the tree. Since this model has a dependency on the OSPF segment routing draft, so we expect we may have to go through a couple of more updates until we reach a stable state. So that's all. Thank you. Any question?
AC Lindo, I just want to make one comment on the one thing that we hadn't done with NDMA. We're talking about, I was hoping to have it done sooner, but start get a Git repository, and Yingzhen has volunteered to help out on the 8022 respin for NDMA compliant with me and Lada.
Yeah, that one, the routing config model. Yeah.
We're not going to let Lada set it up originally because he likes to define his models in yin, and then have tooling take it from yin to yang, and it dry. He does, and so we're going to avoid this. We're going to ask him to come in after the fact. And,
yeah. Right
and
now
help us out.
I guess that's easy.
Oh yeah, it's pretty quick. Okay. The best recent development is that we have two productized implementations of OSPF extended LSAs for OSPF v3 segment routing. And I've added the two authors, or two of the actual implementers. We have one in the room, Dirk Goffels from Nokia in Antwerp. And Viru from Willem from Huawei in Bangalore. Yeah, we've had some corrections based on people's comments and things, very minor things. And I'm going to ask on the list to if there are any others. I've added a skeleton implementation to the OSPF Wiki implementation survey page, and we're going to experiment with this. Use this to put the results of that out to that from the OSPF Wiki. I removed the boilerplate and put some things in, so we'll have room for more stuff. And I'll publish it on the wiki and point to it from once that. The survey is going to ask if they support all 9 types. Really, the only new piece of function was, and this was carried over from prefix link attributes in OSPF v2, is the n bit. I'll ask if there's we're going to ask if there's full support or partial support, what we call the sparse mode, to support the new features, both at the area and instance level. And then I'll ask if the applications. I think I'm pretty sure both vendors did this to support segment routing. And also request a routing, or Abe will. Oh, no, we're both offers. I'll request it anyway from them. Ask them to review it. And one thing we're going to have to, so we can start now that we know this is progressing, is we have a gap draft, and we have one RFC for sure that needs to have a little piece in it that references this and updates that's the 2-part metric. And maybe, I don't know, depending on how fast we do link overload, I'll get the link overload. We'll advance that as OSPF v2, and then just have a small little piece in this same draft that does that. And that's it. I'm also going to ask about interoperability testing, but the logistics of it, I'll see if anybody's, what I'm going to try and do is get the vendors interested in it. I don't know how successful I'll be giving if it were, say, it probably would be easier if it were 2 vendors that were in Bangalore, but it isn't. So Bangalore. I don't know where I got that Bangalore. What? Bangalore is, yeah. Could have been someplace. Bangalore. Okay.
Okay, any questions on this?
Any questions? Are you going to implement it, David? Come on.
Yeah.
Only if somebody pays you.
Someone pays me too.
Okay. David Lafferty is a Quagga, one of the main contributors to Quagga.
David Lamparter, FR routing.
Oh, you are FR?
Quagga is not alive anymore.
Oh.
We don't have anyone pushing for this currently, so no one is actually working on it. We do have people looking at segment routing. They may arrive at the conclusion that they need to implement this at some point, but that hasn't happened yet. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, next up, Peter.
Are you on Java?
Yes,
I had some problem. I couldn't get on it.
I'm in Java, it's completely fine. We do have 6 people on Redacta.
Yes, I see that.
Yeah.
I can't tell who they are.
I can
That's
see.
names then.
All right, so this is a very quick presentation on the LLS interface ID exchange. So what it is, this is a very simple extension. What we want to do is we want to use the OSPF LLS, which is part of the hello, to exchange the interface ID instead of using any other mechanism. There is a mechanism defined which uses the local scope T opaque LSA, which we don't make redundant, or we don't say people can't use, but we believe this is much simpler and easier to do. So the same mechanism is being used in OSPF-v3, is being used in ISIS, so we are just trying to make OSPF-v2 do the same thing. So this draft became the working group document. It's been published with a different name. We added the backward compatibility section, where basically we say if you use both mechanisms, prefer the LLS, you can still continue to use the T-opaque LSA to communicate the interface ID if you want to. There shouldn't really be any backward compatibility issues because the value should be the same, and there can be a time where the ID changes, which should not normally happen, but can possibly happen, where these 2 values may for a very short interval be different, but again, it doesn't really cause any problem. As soon as you look at one of the values, you should be fine. So what we really need is the code point for the LLS, so we can use this. It's a very simple thing. We expect to progress quickly here, and if there is any feedback, please do so.
Okay. Any questions?
Questions, comments?
Just need your help on the early code points.
Yeah.
Atlas. So this draft was, when the first request first came in, right, the draft had just been adopted, and I haven't seen much discussion on the mailing list at all about it. If it's really well understood and stable, and there's agreement that folks need a code point, I'm happy to have that, but I do need to see some discussion on the mailing list from folks in that regard. It just hasn't gotten the quality of conversation yet to make me say, oh sure, it's a 0-0 working group draft, let's go for it. I mean, that's all. Just please read it, please provide some feedback,
if you have any concerns about it, or if there are pieces, if you think it's stable enough. If you read it and you've read, and your response is, yeah, this makes great sense, I'm going to go implement it tomorrow, but I need a code point, say so. If you think it looks great, if you think there are issues, I'd like to decide about doing a code point before the next IETF so that folks who do want to implement it can get it moving. Thank you.
Sure, just there is an implementation already, so.
Yeah, I
We
know.
would love to have a code point, but we can live with the experimental for the time being.
So I hear you and I appreciate it. And of course, work that comes with that comes with running code already is always very valuable because it tends to be less theoretical than some of the other work and tends to have fewer gotchas from things not being thought through fully. So that's really useful, but it is still a pretty standard implementation, and the question is whether there's gaps in what's written down.
Before we go to the next one, so we'll start a discussion on that, and then maybe we'll have, like they do in IDR, after some discussion and an allocation call, like they do on. Now there is now I'm much less concerned about this space than I am, say, BGPLS, where there's code points coming from all these different drafts, and we have collision opportunities galore with that one, but that's not our working group. But I'm still concerned with it because we have some implementation that could have these collisions. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Peter, while you're still there.
Okay. Okay, so there has been already an interesting discussion yesterday on the ISI's working group about this draft. This is the OSPF version of it. So it has been presented so many times. I strongly believe everybody understands what's the problem, and we even have the existing problem. People acknowledge that, so that's good. There's been a good amount of discussion which happened on the IETF meetings and on the working group LAS, both OSPF and ISIS. So I guess we have a problem to solve. We can't say it's not relevant, at least I believe so. So the same problem is in ISIS. We really want to make the solution to be the same in both protocols, not necessarily the encoding part, because there may be some differences due to the differences in the protocol itself, but we believe the solution should be the same. And obviously there is a draft, it should be 0.5 actually. So what we changed from the last time, so we used to have only a single application bit mask. Now we split that and we advertise the standard application mask and the user-defined application mask, because there has been some people saying we don't want only the standardized application, we want to have the flexibility to map any applications we have to a certain value and then advertise the various values of the attributes. So we added that. We added the deployment consideration about how to use this if I want to use a single advertisement for all the applications, and what are the consequences if you introduce another application for which you want a different value. And also we clarified that, and I think that's very important for everybody who is looking at these drafts, is that advertising a link attribute has nothing to do with the enablement of the application on the link. We strongly believe we have to make that distinction. So we have clarified that in the draft. So there has been a working group acceptance poll which has been issued, and we have a fair amount of people saying they support the document. I haven't seen anyone saying no. Even I can think some people may think so, but they haven't expressed so. So I don't know what the next step is going to be, given what happened yesterday on the ISI's working group. But I mean, we have both on the ISIS and OSPF fair amount of people saying they do support this draft. So I leave it to working group chairs and maybe Elia to resolve that.
I have an offer.
So only bit of data I can add is we got some private comments also. They are also of the support nature. There is no concern, at least we have received as part of the acceptance poll. I'm not saying that is a conclusion, but that's the overall status so far.
Right. So last IETF, we had agreement. We wanted a similar result in OSPF and ISS as far as the direction with this. And at that point in time, I asked Chris Hops to make the consensus calls and see where to go forward with it. And that remains the case.
All right. Well, I don't know if that happened yesterday. I don't have that impression, but it's okay.
So, it's good that you're here because I'm about to put you on the spot. We do have working group adoption calls, in both working groups, and they publicly expressed opinions have been overwhelmingly in favor. But what seemed to happen yesterday in the ISS working group was this was discounted, and there was a push from the working group chairs to actually have an interim meeting to discuss any issues associated with this. And my question to you, not as, your opinion on which solution you happen to like or whatever, but strictly as from a process standpoint, when we have overwhelming publicly expressed consensus, are we obligated to follow that? This is the inconsistency I see.
So, well, because there are people on Meet Echo. So, but I also want to look at you, right? So we don't do voting. You know this. And we could say, yes, there was overwhelming consensus. And I freely admit and happily that there were more general support than from one particular affiliation. But there was definitely a piling on from one particular affiliation, which makes me not of people who were actively involved and have legitimate and good technical opinions. So I'm not saying that, but this is part of why we don't do the numbers game for voting. And you know that the working group chair gets to decide when they think the person who's doing the consensus call does get to decide when to do it. Last IETF, I asked for a virtual interim between the last one and this one. I've asked for the use cases to be better written down because I think what a lot of the working group and folks on the mailing list have been hearing is arguing over bits instead of use cases. Obviously, I'm happy to chat with you as well. We all understand that when a document's adopted as a working group draft, it's a starting point, and that there needs to be flexibility and willingness to make changes based on what the working group says. And I think that had the discussion around that gone differently in ISIS, you might have had different results. But I am certainly not concerned about Chris taking time, because the other piece of consensus is looking for significant technical objections and actually addressing them. Right. So there's two pieces. One is, can everyone live with this? And if you can't live with it, what are the technical problems? What are the issues? And then how can we resolve the issues? It's fine to have rough consensus, but the rough consensus, I mean, you know this, you've been participating in the IETF for an eon. Sorry. but the key point here is, if you hear significant technical objections and we don't have some concept about how to address that, and it might be that the working group has consensus of, yes, we heard that, we don't care. So I am not concerned now. Will I be concerned if we don't have a decision and it resolved before next IETF? Yeah, I'll be screaming at people. And I don't like to scream.
So I'm not talking a numbers game, okay? And we all build on rough consensus. We're not taking a majority. We don't have an electoral college, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just saying, if you look at the history of the working groups, if you have any draft and it has numbers such as we see in public today, I do not know any case where the draft was not adopted. I cannot think of one. And so I'm asking from a process standpoint, and I'm particularly concerned because of the direction that the ISIS working group chairs took. Okay, the largest set of discussions, I mean, Chris and I everybody knows kind of, where we stand. And, and, we don't agree, that's fair. We're all entitled. But when the working group chairs make a concerted effort to say, we think there needs to be an interim meeting to discuss this, even though the publicly expressed opinions of the working group indicate otherwise, my question is this within IETF process or not?
Yes. I mean, I can tell you longer than that, and I will. Okay, the short form is take another read through 70, or one of the ways, the best document that I've seen for thinking about how and why the IETF does rough consensus is looking at RFC 7282. And this is where I tie back to rough consensus is tied around significant technical objections. And the point is not that the technical objection has to be answered in, oh, here, I hear you and we're going to handle that in this way, but it has to be discussed, and then there has to be more. I can tell you about what we had to do with NVO3. Okay, for NVO3, and there was great consensus to adopt absolutely every single data plane under the universe. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. There were only 3. Okay, and it was the same type of thing. And there was happy consensus to adopt each of them, but nobody could live with particular one, and it kept being. So yes, these issues come up. Usually they haven't come up in ISIS or OSPF because, frankly, we've got a really well-behaved and cooperative working group, and I certainly prefer that style to having to go have strong discussions. I believe that Chris was trying to poke at different things and get a better understanding, and he's putting, and I understand that. I am aware that the public expressions on the, I've been watching the public expressions on the mailing list as well and seeing what folks are saying. I would feel better if some of the folks who are expressing, yes, this is a good point, said it was a good point because they have this problem or, I mean, +1 contains very little information. And that's one of the other pieces is in a consensus judgment, it's necessary to pay attention to what is said. And so are there significant technical objections? Has the working group talked about them and agree on how to handle them? And then when you're judging consensus, how informed do the +1s look? Are they +1s or are they actually meaningful input beyond, yeah, my friend asked me to, and I don't think that's happening here, by the way, because I know people are saying it, but it's not enough input to say, oh, this person really cares about it because it's solving this problem. Obviously, you all are really interested in it because it's solving your problems, it's solving customer problems for you, and I understand that. I'm really not excited about this dragging on, but if you're asking from a process standpoint, I don't think that anything wrong has happened yet, and I'm definitely keeping a close eye on it.
One more point, and I'll get off this.
Sure.
I was in the opposite position fairly recently on the encapsulation draft in ISIS. I did not and still do not think that it was worth doing, and I voiced my objection. I was alone in that objection, and the working group chairs, quite rightly, followed the consensus of the working group. The draft has proceeded. I don't see the difference here.
I'd have to go back and look at that particular one, but I hear your point.
It was the corollary of the one we have in working group last fall from Bruno. OSPF tunnel and cap.
Okay.
No, it's not the content, it's the process.
Yeah.
that I'm asking.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
You got all that, Lacey, right?
I got not all. I got a lot of it. I tried to pick out main points.
Okay. So last topic. AC has some discussion on NSSA.
Yeah.
Want to talk about it?
I think I think I uploaded that one.
You have one slide there.
One slide.
Slide.
And I will stay sitting with this one since it's only one slide. So I got a question from the implementation group that does all three implementations of OSPF as to why RFC 3107 doesn't allow equal cost multipath to different ASBRs. Well, these could be ASBRs or ABRs. And I remember it was like that way, way back at IBM, and I just changed it for someone. Someone said that, and I just changed it. And then when I went to Redback, I just ignored it. You know, I said, of course you'd want ECMP between multiple ASBRs, everything. If all the other rules, and you know you aren't going to loop, if all the other rules are equal. So what I'm proposing to do is make this optional via an errata. And I don't know if other implementations have done this too. I guess some among our implementations at Cisco, some have done it and some have not because of the, you know, for conformance testing, right? They've stuck directly to it. So I just like to do this via errata rather than trying to do and make it up. And if I were redoing it, I would remove it completely. But since I'm doing it during errata, I'll do it optionally and put in the description that it's, you know, that it's errata description, that it's not necessary. I was really surprised that 15 years later, or not 15, yeah, something like that, it comes up that, or more.
So Chris Powers. So from what you're saying, I think you're saying there's no possibility of this causing routing loops. It's just a should as opposed to a must that people are doing as should or not doing at all.
Yes.
So there's no chance of routing loops from any change of this.
No.
Okay. I just want to confirm that.
If you look at this is rule E. There's rules A through D that have all the different things about inter-area paths and things like, you know whether you have a path over the for it's for both AS external and NSA. And I don't see why if all those other rules are satisfied, why this would ever be a problem.
Okay. So presumably current implementations make a decision here, right? It would actually be good to kind of figure out what's actually being done out in networks. I mean, it seems trivial, but as if we're going to fix it, let's see, like, are we actually fixing something that, 90% are actually doing what's said here or not? I have, at this point, I have no idea what existing implementations do. And you mentioned that like 2 implementations at your employer are actually different. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually,
So?
one does and one doesn't honor this last rule.
Okay.
This last tiebreaker, the last tiebreaker for.
Okay. So it would make ones that don't honor it technically more compliant. I mean, in practice.
I don't know. It says optionally. I say they'd be of equal. They'd be more functional because because some people might actually want to do this if it was equal cost multipath.
Okay. Well, it would be good to like.
I'll send another email. See if
more about it.
Yeah. See if people can look at their implementation. If David, you could look at yours. I bet yours does. I bet you honor it because people who write open source, they're very standards compliant. Yeah, they'll have the standard right there. Whereas people that work for vendors are that somebody will scream at them, why does it work this way? And they'll just change it.
David Lamparter, I can tell you that we only started doing ECMP about a year ago. So it's very recent, actually.
Oh.
But I have no idea what it actually does.
I should pull it. I could pull that myself. Actually, I have a big problem that I say I'm going to do more about as much stuff as 2 people or 3 people could do, and I don't end up doing it all. So I won't say that I'm going to pull the the GitHub and look at it. Anyway, okay, so we'll continue the discussion on the list.
Yeah, I'd like some time to look at this just to make sure that
Yeah.
it's
And see if anybody does think it could. Luckily we don't have many people in here. But if it were to loop just from this change, I'd buy everybody a beer in the room. That's not that bad.
If I can produce a scenario where it does, then.
Yeah, then I'll buy you a beer. if just this changed, just a new change, yeah. Okay, I guess we're. Unfortunately, Chris didn't come, and I see he was at. He could have participated in this discussion we were having. I see he's on Jabber. I was wondering why he didn't. I should have pinged him. But we'll continue this discussion, I think, about coming to a resolution on ISIS and OSPF-T attributes. Do you have anything to add?
No, that's it.
Okay. I don't know where he is. So I think Chris has his Jabber on his phone. So I don't know if he looks at it all the time, because he's available a lot of the time. I can't get a hold of him. Right on. Yeah. So I guess I missed Stefano. He's going back tomorrow.
You were saying that there was some failure
From this morning. I got last night.